This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian live on K4HD TV, radio, podcasting, Talk4 Media, streaming live around the world, which is fun. Streaming worldwide TV network, IG247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, and WomenOnTV.tv. So I'm going to limit everything that I say because I just never know how the sound's going to come out. Technology is good when it's good. When it's not, it's just so-so. So this is a special show. And the reason why, because Terri Marie Nonstop was not on here. No, I'm only kidding. But the thing about this is we got a lot of people on tonight, and I'm excited for this. So we got Kyle Rand on, we got Carolina on. She's feeling much, much better, and I'm glad that she's here. Mike Szymanski is back. We can talk a little bit about Oscars. We got Cory in, and we have a surprise. She may pop up. We shall see. So with that, Kyle, I want to go to you first. I'm going to limit what I'm going to say. Let's do this. Let's talk about you. Forbes 30 for under 30. What else is there? VR experience for seniors. And the reason why I like this company, and I've been wanting to have you on, because you have something that's special that people really need to have. And I call them experienced seniors. Let's talk about that. Go for it.
Okay, great. Well, I could talk forever, but I'll give a high level overview. So I have been working with seniors my entire life and was fortunate enough to co-found Rendever back in 2016 when we really dug into the data and understood what social isolation was. Now, mind you, this was back in 2016, and a lot of it stemmed from a personal experience that I had with my own grandmother, moving her into a senior living community and seeing what exactly happens when someone falls into this trap of not really connecting and not really becoming a part of the community. Fast forward to today, we just celebrated the second anniversary of the pandemic starting, and I believe everybody has a sense of an understanding of what social isolation is. So I don't really have to dig into that, but I can dig into the cool stuff, which is what we're doing at Rendever. And what we've done is we've built a social experience platform utilizing VR that allows groups of residents who otherwise may fall into this trap of social isolation. It allows people to connect through the power of shared experiences. And I'm excited to dig into it. There's lots of really cool things that we do, working with over 400 senior living communities across the US and Canada. We just went live in Australia. We just got research funded by the NIH and the National Institutes on Aging. We're doing all sorts of really cool stuff, and I'm really excited to be here to talk about it.
So Cory, let's go this next. It is Oscar week. Let's talk about this. Talk about Without Ward. So let's see. Producer, actor, director. I like that aspect of stuff. And we have to support independent film. That's so important, as Michael would say also. Cory, talk about your film. And it comes out, if I'm correct, Friday on Apple TV, Verdugo, Amazon, iTunes, and one or two other platforms. Talk about it. Go ahead.
You remember more than I do. So thanks. Thanks for the intro. It's actually a crazy intro because first off, I now have to meet Kyle, like for real. And I hope he doesn't get mad at this. Without Ward is kind of about a guy like Kyle who in a very well-meaning way wants to fix the problem of social isolation. It takes place in this dystopian future. And it's a character, Ward, played by the late, great Marty Landau, a mentor of mine, and I wish he was here to see it. But Ward literally uses technology because he feels like because of things like technology, we can no longer connect and everybody's in their own world. And he essentially creates a drug that lets people live in their wildest dreams. So he's using technology, much like Kyle is, to fix the problem of social isolation. Doing this causes the world to fall under like kind of a one world government called contractualism, and the entire world falls apart. The drug that he used to allow people to go to sleep is gone, and half the world is under house arrest. We made this before COVID, but it's literally a movie about a family being trapped in their house 2 years after living their wildest dreams for 20 years. And it's ridiculous to say in its most basic sense, it's a movie about a guy who saves the world by standing naked in a window that's going to make you cry. So it's just all about connection and people coming together. That's
a summary I wasn't expecting. We definitely have a fun conversation ahead of us.
So your intro really freaked me out. I was like, someone like you, and the thought of that inspired in my fears of social media and both the love and dislike got me thinking about like, where could this go and how could we really fix this? I feel like we have the same passion.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we're leading more utopian future than dystopian, but
it ends that way. He does say,
okay, good.
I don't want to ruin it, but.
And Carolina, go ahead. Talk about your books. You got some interesting books that I really like. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So I am Carolina Ugas Moran. I'm the author of the Adventures of Aline series. It's a 7-book series. I have published 1 book, which is an award-winning book, Aline and the Blue Bottle. And I'm working almost finishing book 2, which is Aline and the Queen of the Crones. I like to say if the Lord of the Rings married Harry Potter, their daughter would be the Adventures of Aline series, just to kind of give you a summary of what's about. But it's about girl power. It's about finding yourself. It's a coming of age book where Aline finds out there's a lot of secrets around her and she gets whisked into magical worlds. And now she has to figure herself out, figure her family out, find new friends, and find a evil warlock that's after her and her magic.
And Erica.
It sounds like a book I would read.
Fantastic, yes.
You're going to like it.
Sorry?
So Erica, I think Erica just popped up. Let's talk about the Oscar. She is an Oscar. So model, actress, filmmaker, producer. Let's see what your story is all about. Erica, go for it.
Hi. Yes, recently I had this really great photo shoot where I literally was turned into an Oscar, which I thought it was so great. And it was for Jonathan Baker's Oscar party that is being presented in conjunction with Indie Entertainment Media magazine. Our body painter is nominated for her 2nd Oscar, and this is the world champion Haewon An. The photo shoot was photographed in Jonathan's house, and Eric was the photographer. Yeah, it was quite excellent. I think the cover just came out today. I thought there was such a great concept behind the whole thing, because if you think of it, Oscar in the human form, really, really fun, especially for this weekend. I think we're going to have so much fun with this.
I saw the cover. You look wonderful on that. So Michael, what you heard so far, talk about what you like, because there's a lot of things that you and I would talk about being Oscar week, especially what Kyle has and what the experienced team did and what Cory did 3 years before everything, all this stuff happened. And then when, Carolina's books, and obviously with Erica, it all fits into the week. Now, I didn't plan all of this, but I kind of did. All right, Mike, go for it.
Well, one of the first things I want to say is that if Erica is posing for an Oscar, it can't possibly be accurate because there's no genitals on the Oscars. So I have my Oscar posters back here that we've all covered together with Brian backstage. I think it's going to be a Power of the Dog year, which isn't my favorite film of the year, but that's what. But I think it'll also be mixed. I think Jessica Chastain is going to win Best Actress, and for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and Will Smith will probably pick up his first Oscar this year, which would be very cool.
So Kyle, going back to you, you had no idea that when it comes to filmmakers and us movie critics, we spend a lot of time in the dark. So, we're like, what was the name of that movie? We walk out of there saying, what did we just see? So talk about the VR experience for movie critics in general, and then for experienced seniors, because that's really, really important.
Sorry, I missed the second part of that question, but I can.
It was more of like when us movie critics walk outside the theater and we've seen a movie that we want to forget.
Interesting. Okay, well, I think like there's a lot to dive into here. I think I'm a little bit fish out of the water because I have the pleasure of being able to say that pretty much every experience that we put out onto our platform is received phenomenally well, which surrounded by a bunch of people who really are in the movie industry, and any movie critic probably would hear that and guffaw at it. But you have to realize that the audience that we have built this product for is an audience that is often overlooked in society, right? I think Western society does not do a great job traditionally of engaging with and building a really positive lifestyle for the older adults. So what we do is we work primarily with senior living communities. We've expanded to work with hospitals and healthcare organizations and hospice organizations, and really we've built an experience platform that focuses on empowering a new form of life for anybody whose life has become limited. And I was just having a conversation earlier today where, the easiest way to think about this is if somebody, I'm not sure how many of you have experienced things in VR before or like really done like videos in VR, but if I was to go through a series of different travel experiences or travel movies that were immersive in VR and spend my time in them, I would be thinking, that was pretty cool. Now I want to go to Paris and I want to experience it firsthand. I want to stand on top of the Eiffel Tower. What we're doing is we're working with a demographic that has had a lifetime worth of experiences and has had an opportunity to explore the world, do all sorts of things, build families, like build homes, and now is at a stage in their life process where their access becomes cut, right? That their world has slowly shrunk. And so what we do is we use immersive technology and we create 360 videos that all of a sudden opens a door back into the world. And so to bring it back to the initial point, our critics, I guess, are end users, but our critics, we have the pleasure of every single day, we open the world for them to be able to do something new and check off a bucket list item or go back to their childhood home. And 100 times out of 100 times, the responses are raving and super positive. No one's like, the coloring of that could have been better. They're like, wow, it felt amazing to be back on the Eiffel Tower. So like I said, a little bit of a fish out of the water here.
Kyle, what did you go to school for? Did you do anything in like tech or anything in science? Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, so I was the first person to graduate with a double major in biomedical engineering and neuroscience from Duke. And so I spent most of my undergrad career in either my engineering lab, which was a neuroengineering lab. So we were working on prosthetics and building prosthetics, and we used monkeys. And then the other half of my time was spent in a human cognition lab working with older adults. Wow. So obviously, I much preferred working with older adults.
Of course. Wow. So that's how did you think about doing this like back when you were in college, or this was like, something that was build over as you started learning about different things? You're like, you know what, maybe I could do something to change this. Was that ever like your thought process?
Yeah, I would say I really have slowly fallen in love with the aging population throughout my life. Like I grew up volunteering at a local senior living community. I spent time as an undergrad doing research with older adults, and just there's one thing that I think everybody should be able to fall in love with this population. Like there is so much you can learn from it. There's so much positivity, but there's one moment that like really sticks with me, where as a kid, my job volunteering in our local community, I would go and I would scoop ice cream. And there was this moment where this gentleman walked into the ice cream parlor and I locked eyes with him and I pointed at him and I said, I know you want rum raisin with chocolate sprinkles. And the smile that spread across his face from that little moment of recognition and human connection is something that has stayed with me forever. And so like that it makes it so easy to be focused on this. So it's been a lifelong process in really falling in love with this demographic.
I'm sorry to jump in here, but I just have to tell you, you literally have to watch Without Ward. And we have an odd amount in common. So it's about this family, and one of the main characters is a woman who entered this dream world when she was 30. Her particular dream is that she's kind of like gas. She didn't have any time. And she wakes up and she's 60, and she now has to deal with the difference between being a 30-year-old and a 60-year-old. And the whole reason I created this character is that early in my life, I found some very close relationships with just like older women, and realized they were being completely dismissed and not being paid attention to. This might sound odd. I recently moved to Atlanta, and I was literally at a card game with women only 70s plus last night, because I found this society just leaves them out. And it's maybe, and I think even more towards women, but men as well. But it's because there are moms and there are dads, and we kind of look at this and almost think like, oh, like you're there now. It's silly. You're forgotten. And I really wanted to speak to that in this film. And it's just something I care about, I don't know, tremendously. It's great that you're doing something in the real world. I'm trying to point it out, even in marketing. I've been trying to fight for us to go for that group, because it's this assumption, like, you don't want to, I don't think everyone over 60 just wants to see something about cats. It's like, they like art, they've lived life. Like, what are we doing? And you get these great stories. And when you're able to act like you act with everybody else, it's weird. We act differently around older people, and we really shouldn't. It's just, I'm really happy you're doing that work, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. There's a lot that I want to dial in on there. Like they've lived life is something that I find myself thinking all the time. Early on in our company's trajectory, we were really unsure of what kind of experiences we wanted to launch on the platform. And then we had these communities that we were working with for a year, and they were like, we really want to go on a roller coaster in VR. And we took a step back and we were like, our entire foundation is around empowering people to experience the world that they otherwise could not. Just because we're scared of like what happens if someone goes on a roller coaster, that shouldn't prevent us from allowing somebody to experience that. So there's, I think, remembering that this demographic is full of life and full of experience, and using that to inform how we can better connect with them opens up so many doors. Also, I have to say, when you said a 30-year-old going to 6-year-old, I thought of 13 going on 30. I just turned 30, and it's fascinating. I'm really excited to see the film.
Kyle, I'm curious, what are the most popular BRs that they ask for, that they want to see?
It's a great question. Like Cory just said, it's diverse, right? Like it's easy to think about the 60 plus population and group them into one group, but really there's so many different people who make up that overall demographic, and so many stages of life throughout it. So it's super diverse. It's a hard question to answer. I will say that we have the ability to ask someone, we'll take you anywhere in the world. Where do you want to go? And I would say a majority of the time, people will immediately think, I want to go back to my childhood home. And when you bring someone back to their childhood home, especially someone with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, you bring someone back there and the memories just come flooding back. And it's one of the most magical things to be a part of. I will never forget the time that I brought Rendever to my grandpa for the first time. And we were doing like all sorts of things. We went swimming with dolphins. We rode a hot air balloon ride. We went and saw the Aurora Borealis. But when I told him that we could walk around the streets of Long Island, New York, we were up until 2 a.m. walking the streets of Long Island, New York. And he still lives in Long Island. But it's that connection to the early stages of life that really always hits home.
That's pretty cool.
Well, it goes into Carolina's books of having that great childhood too, which I think is interesting. And then Erica, I'm coming to you next. So Carolina, talk about why you wrote those books, because this is going to be interesting for those future filmmakers, your whole series.
There are many reasons why. The idea came from a dream that I had, but it's completely mixed with my life and my childhood life as well. I moved, I'm Hispanic. I was born in Spain, raised in multiple countries in South America, and I moved a lot. And so for me, learning about culture, accepting different cultures, different type of people was critical, and how I was accepted or not as I grew up was important. So this book in a way reflects a lot of those journeys and adventures and struggles, and choosing to see it in a kid's eyes, right? In a kid's perspective. I think 12-year-olds are in that spot of age where magic still exists, but they comprehend the reality of the world. And so they have one foot in one door and one foot in the other, and they can still live life figuring those two things out. And I thought that was important to talk about hard discussions, racism, diversity and inclusion, acceptance, and losing death in the family, like all these hard discussions, but still have a fun, light, and great outtake in life to move forward and make that as a choice. I think our disposition in life is also a choice, and selecting to, you're going to have to go through whatever bumps life throws you in the way, and selecting to have a good attitude about it is going to be a best choice rather than to be upset. And it's easier for people think kids are bounce back easy and they're, flexible or it's easier for them to deal with hard discussions or hard, experiences. And I think in a way it's true, but in a way they choose better. And they select to be happy. And I think that's why, but that doesn't mean they don't go through the motions. So writing about something that a lot of people can relate in their own childhood, but also that kids can relate today, especially with everything that's going on around the world, and still have a great attitude about it, for me was critical. I'm a mother, I have 2 girls. And so it was important for me to have a character that will be a role model and experience and come out through okay, regardless of what life threw at her. And so that was important for me. And I also wanted to add Spanish in there, and I also have Inca, a lot of Inca mythology and Quechua, which is the Inca language. So I use a lot of the spells with Quechua, and just trying to bring more culture. As I mentioned, I moved a lot, and I thought it was so important. And language, it's a foundation of culture in so many different ways. So I kind of wanted to throw that in there and have a little twist in the books and have some spells in a different language to see, why not expose kids to something fun and something mystical and all in one package. So yeah, those are some of the reasons why I wanted to write the book.
Hey, Erica.
Carolina,
Okay, Josh, go ahead.
Oh no, I just wanted to know, since it's a 7-book series, like, is it like a continuation of where the first book ended? Or are you doing like different stories in each one?
Yeah, it's a continuation. So it's really Aline's life and her friend's life. It's truly it's an adventure. Every book has its own adventure, but at the same time, it's her whole life adventure, from going from a hard situation all the way to the end of the books. And I have mapped them. I actually thought about all of this in 2003 and map all of this out in 2003. So I know how it's going to end. I have a pretty good idea how it's going to end, but yeah, it's the little adventures and then the overall big, which is how do you make, sort of the big hump over life, hardships, and still come out on the other side triumphant, regardless of whether you made it or not, you still have to come out triumphant, whether you made your goal or not. So yeah, to answer your question shortly, it's a full continuation of her life from 12 until 19.
Wow.
Erica, talk about this. You know what it's like to be that little girl growing up, whether you wanted to be a model or whatever. You're that international model. You did that beautiful spread that came out today for the magazine of Oscar. But also, you're that actress, you're that producer. Did you know you wanted to do all of this?
I'm so sorry. What was the question? Did I know that I wanted to do all of this?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think art is really supporting art. So every form of art is sort of connecting us, right? And I feel like sometimes it's not fulfilling enough. I was modeling, but I was also getting my law degree. So again, I always combined this with sort of what was in front of me. So I started writing articles. Now, acting is just probably my favorite form of communication. So now combining this with modeling and producing, combining all of experiences, I think it's just a consequence. And if you're in the business, you learn so many different things that I think eventually you want to experiment and try something else over and over again and do it better.
And congratulations on getting that degree. I don't even know how you had time to do it.
Neither do I. But you see, when I traveled, I had a pretty exciting career, and every time I traveled on the weekends, that's when I had some time off. I was with my legal books, going back home for exams. But I'm really happy I did this, because while I was modeling and now that I'm acting, there are so many people that I can help with contracts. Like, legal advice is so expensive. So to understand the system is fabulous. And, you know, when I'm producing, when I need to sign contracts, again, this legal knowledge is amazing. I'm really happy I did it.
So Mike and Kyle and Cory, this one's for you. So do you see a future movie here with all these people on this panel?
Well,
I'm just laughing about legal is expensive. They just get 5% of everything I make.
I just want to say that
I wish I was friends with Erica.
I think everybody should Google every single person on here, because it's such an amazing group of people. I mean, if the people, you know, I loved you know, the story about the ice cream that Kyle was coming up with. It's on his page. I read that. I was going to say, if he didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up. Erica's mix of clips are great, except that she's got blood on most of them. So movies are very scary, I think, but I can't wait to see them. And you know, and the Cory's movie. I mean, I think, Brian, you and I interviewed Marty Landau many times, and one of the
best actresses ever.
Yeah, and
he's actually one of the greatest humans I ever like. So if you guys had ever seen that movie Almost Famous, that was my life, but with movies, not music. And honestly, with hearing about Carolina's book, that was the only kind of thing that got me through life. Like, I'll just say I was asked to leave high school, did not go to college, and ended up in Los Angeles at like 16. And I met Martin Landau. I don't even know if the story is appropriate, but in the funniest way ever. And he was just, I love the old radio show, The Shadow, and we connected on that. He couldn't believe I had the tapes as like a 16-year-old. This is the 90s, so he was like coming off of Ed Wood. And he literally took me under his wing. And I don't even think I would have gone back and like graduated high school if it wasn't for him. He came to my high school graduation in a little town in Georgia. And would always check in with me. And I never wanted to use that relationship for a movie. So with Ward, I submitted it to his manager. I just knew he'd love the content of this particular film. And it's just nice to hear you guys say that. I'm really sad he's not here for this. But
if you look at
such a great
the trailer, the trailer is wonderful. I've watched the trailer just before the show, and you know, it's great to see him sitting there. And I had to look it up. It was like, wow, has it been like 5 6 years since he's been gone? Yeah. But it's great that you've captured his last moments, and he's even talking about the world without him, and so it is very poignant.
Thank you.
Nathasha, I don't want to leave you out. I know you got a question. Go.
Yes. So this question actually it's a question for Erica. I want to talk about The Long Night, right? That's the name of the movie. I think I saw a trailer of it, The Long Night, and you were like, let me tell you, I started looking at this trailer, and I is it a horror film? Because I literally started hearing, like, you know, that little creepy music in the background. I was like, I cannot watch this trailer. I don't know what's gonna pop out in the screen, but it looked pretty good. Like, I really want to scare myself and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that, like how everything was, like how'd you get that role, or like was this something like, do you like doing like scary movies, or what is it about?
No, I think, you know what happened? I think COVID has just suspended. I think I have around 6-7 movies that should be coming out sometime this year and next year, and there will be plenty of others that are not scary. However, this one, it had a really great cocktail of people. I had a really interesting part. I'm basically giving birth to evil. So, you know, you can interpret that on so many different levels. And for me, it's still very dramatic. But also, I'm such a geek. So, you know, for me, it was big. We've spent quite a bit of time. And I stepped in 2 years later, after the movie has been shot. It was very important to have me in the storytelling, sort of, you know, where I don't want to spoil it for you because it's quite exciting horror. I would watch this one. It's in the cinemas right now. It's a good journey through your mind. It's scary, but with a good kind of goosebumps. And my specifically parts, to me, they're aesthetically very beautiful. I worked with a director maybe on 5 projects at this point, and his girlfriend, fiance, is a photographer. So I actually photograph with her as well a lot. She's one of my favorite photographers in Los Angeles. So they called me and asked as a favor because they needed the story for continuation of, well, for the ending really. And it was great. We were filming in the hoods during the very heat of the pandemic. I had 2 boxes of snakes for my part. I had so much fun. I had so many little baby pythons. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but it was amazing. And I remember, I'm lying there naked in the hoods with so many scary objectives. It's 3 a.m. It's so uncomfortable. And I'm like, for the sake of art, well, here I am. It was great. I think it's a good scary. It's very beautiful scary for me.
I feel like you just defined COVID in like one scene in a movie. You just defined COVID.
Yeah. So for, I was so hungry for that sort of for work in general. And when they called me, it was exactly, I think we were all sort of a year into, and that was the first project that I did as the breakthrough. So I was like, oh my God, yes. So here's where the contract.
Best way to kick it.
Yeah. Because I think everyone was very enthusiastic. Everyone on set we were so hungry for work, and I didn't realize the set was going to be so huge. We had enormously huge set for the scenes, but I loved it. It was a very surreal experience. It sort of takes you to places where it was fun.
Well, talking about taking you to different places, Cory, your movie, when you started talking about it, the first thing that popped in my head, I don't know why, it was Limitless, because it's like about, have you seen Limitless before? And I was like, the pill, and this one, opens up their brain capacity or something like that. But I kind of had like can it fall under the same category as Limitless?
It's honestly, I mean, my favorite thing about getting to do Without Ward is you just never get to make movies like this. And we really, part of me still feels ridiculous. There was like an angel and devil on my shoulder that we had a really good script. And I kind of hate saying this. I'm horrible at everything in life. Like, I'm 39. I've never been married. Somehow I can make like work happen, but like, I'm just terrible. But I'm a really good writer, and I might be a good director. But, we got all this buy-in. We got this great cast. And it was this script where if we went a little bit normal, we would have made something that would have been kind of widely loved, for sure. But I kind of wanted to make the most weird thing ever. And I had to go to the investors and say like, hey guys, I kind of want to make a movie where the first 20 minutes are slow on purpose, but it's so weird that you just kind of keep asking what's going on. And then we'll get into American Dream mode. And I wanted it to be like the things I love about Ed Wood, but intentionally. And move away from that after the beginning. And everybody it's a long way of saying, and I hope this doesn't come off pompous, it's not like anything. And being allowed to make that happen with a cast like this and with a budget like this was so exciting. It didn't feel like we were on set. It felt like we were at camp, and that's just not the normal experience anymore. And it was like everybody was just able to get past their BS and just do something. And I didn't even know if people were going to like that. We had just people like Chris Telfson, who's one of my favorite editors of all time, just came in and like helped with the cut. And was like, made us feel like, no, you can just keep going that direction. Like, just go a little more bonkers would be the best word for it. And it's this very dark story that's presented in a very happy way. And it comes from a place in my life where, without getting too into it, I was going to kill myself before I had written this. And I wanted to use this to connect again. I feel like I come off very differently than what I'm like. And I just wanted to find connection again. And I had been bedridden and I had been stuck in my house. And sadly, that's happened again with COVID. I have a lot of health stuff. But somehow it was like we were able to find a cast and a crew that all bought into this idea of like, we want to make the movie that we wanted to see when we were like 12-year-olds in our basement. not the movie that has the things you're supposed to have. And it's funny to remember it. Like, I love who I'm with now, but even in doing things like this, it's very hard to get, oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. It's hard to get people to put out the message you want, even when you're talking about it, because I feel so fake. It's like, we really care about this thing. And I really hope people see it. And for once, I just kind of want to shut up and let people like think what they think. And I don't know, it kind of like it made me feel better. And I never thought making a movie would actually do that. It always would like ruin my life. And this time it just made me feel better. And my whole life got better after I made it, which is crazy.
Well, Cory, I'm glad you're here, and thanks for being a director. So you're doing something right because you became a director.
I just wanted to say, like, I feel like you're grappling with, there were a few different ways you phrased it. You said like dark and light, like angels and demons, like dystopian versus utopian. And I feel like there must be a lot of, there must have been a lot of opportunity to infuse your own like approach and relationship with your life in this movie, not knowing what exactly happens. But I feel like that must have been such a rewarding outlet, and probably just granted, even with yourself, so much creative freedom to be able to grapple with these two distinct concepts. And there's so much beauty to be found in that.
No, thanks. So I mean, it really was. And it's like, it's even hard for me to say like, thanks, but it got me to a place like personally where I was able to like, honestly, for most of life, I was just kind of an angry person. When I was a younger kid, even making my first film, it's like, I think my entire purpose in life was to have things that people that thought I couldn't make it wanted. And so I was like having this successful life, but in a way where it was to show people up that hurt me, which is a pathetic way to live. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's funny how art can be healing, even just the making of it. But we really tried something, and I hope people connect with it. It's really just about connection and about how being yourself and being honest is literally the most selfless thing you can do. It's a movie about a guy who saves the world standing naked in a window, but it'll make you cry. Yeah. And it's so weird. It's raunchy and sad, and you know.
Is it out now?
It comes out this Friday. So
Friday.
Oh wow.
Weekend plans.
Please check it out. Senseless plug without word. Sorry.
Will do. Absolutely.
Erica, you're not a director yet, are you?
Me?
Yes.
Just a little bit, but honestly, I don't want to take that chair because I think it's so much responsibility, you know? It's like the director should be the one taking the blame always for all the fiascos. No, I'm already such a control freak, and every time I am on set, I try to contribute because I think, you know, when you create art, it's really all about coming together, and we all have qualities. And I think when you're creating a movie, they all come out because it's almost suddenly everyone is putting on the table what is it that they can bring to that table. I don't want to direct just yet. I have a project in mind, but I want to be an instrument for the storytelling just now.
I see you being a director. You're going to be one, and you're going to be very good. I can tell already. But also talk about what's it like being Ms. Oscar, because I'm curious, and I'm going to say too.
Well, you know, sort of when you become sort of the object, really, of so many desires, it was great because, first of all, I think for artists, it's so much easier to talk about our projects or about our people that we were working on those projects, right? So suddenly I become an Oscar, and here have another creator, Jonathan. So I'm sort of like his reward in a way, right? But at the same time, I'm like a full-on sensation, sort of the end of the road, something, accomplishment, so many other things. So the entire Oscar perception has changed for me because I am the bloody victory, or I don't know what you call it. It was fun. And I was working with Haywan. She's this extraordinary artist that, you know, I'm so OCD when it comes to doing things, when creating.
And whenever I connect with people who are the same, it's a miracle, because suddenly I don't feel like such a weirdo. So it was super fun. But you see, also coming from the fashion world, there are a lot of psychological things going on, but also, you know, I'm entirely painted in gold. If I touch anything, that spot is painted in gold. So I have to be very careful.
I feel like you just summed like the best part of art up in saying, suddenly I don't feel like such a weirdo. It's why I like the collaborative arts. There's just something about like finding those other people that make you feel like you're not alone.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, especially film, you get the sensation of the belonging, and the storytelling becomes more important than you. It's irrelevant at that point. And the bonds that you create, because for a certain period of time, a bunch of people, very often an absolute strangers, you know, are there for a purpose, and it's a little higher than just themselves. And you will have to walk that extra mile if you want this to look extraordinary, and you will have to make those sacrifices. But I think there's so much joy. And, you know, of course, we can all be miserable and complain. The circumstances are not always dream. However, when you suck it in and you see that other people are also biting their tongue, and it's enormously hot or super cold, it's just like you come out of those few weeks of production and you feel like you've been married to a lot of them. And it's so great because you have the safety then to create other projects. And no, I think creating art is something above everything else. It's amazing.
I'm curious, Carolina, do you find yourself like loving the independent process of writing, or are there times when you wish, man, I wish I had an entire team of writers that I was working with on this piece?
Oh yeah, I wish I had a team sometimes, because I've been working in the pharmaceutical industry for 20 years, so I have both lives, right? My professional life as a you know, working in the pharmaceutical industry, and my professional life as an author. And there's only, when you were talking, Erica, I was feeling you like, oh, there's only so much you can do, right? You have to buckle up and move forward. But yeah, I wish sometimes I can hire a team, or I know, you know, I used to, when I was in college, do some cloning. I don't know if I can clone a human, but I would like to try to clone myself sometimes and see if I can make some stuff happen. But at the end, you know, it's so rewarding. And I agree with, I think everybody has said this at some point or another. It is more than what, you know, it's more than the work, right? It's more about the connecting. And I heard almost all of you saying at some point that you felt happy. And I think when things work out, regardless of wanting to have an additional team or, you know, having to kind of roll your sleeves and make things happen, at the end of the day, the feeling, the reward that you get and the connectiveness that you get, it's beyond the moment that you're going through. It's so worth the time. For me, is hearing people come back and saying, you know, I know exactly how you felt, or the way you made me feel when I read this made a difference in my life. And it's just that one person that I feel that it's, you know, that I get that connection with, where it just was worth it. Whether, you know, I didn't sleep that much on the weekends, or I sacrificed, you know, maybe a school event with my daughter, you know, whatever those sacrifices were, they were worth, you know, making somebody else happy. And that makes my work not feel like work. So yes, I wish I could clone myself, but it's worth it. Yeah.
All right, give me social media links and why people should buy this book when it comes out.
So social media links. So you can reach my website at www.adventuresofaline.com. You can also reach me in social media at Carolina Ugas M. And why you have to buy this book: if you want magic and secrets and adventures and unknowns and new creatures, then this is the book for you.
All right, Kyle, tell about why your company is important. This is something that's great and it's not going away. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, why my company is important. Obviously, I'm biased in so many different ways, but I think that what we're really building is we're building a future in which we think about the aging process and we get excited. And we think about our grandparents and we think about our parents even. And the ability to think about your 80s and 90s as something that's full of life and still full of connection, like that should be inherent. Like we shouldn't have to think about whether or not that's going to be true or not. Like I think about my own parents getting older and I'm like, I want them to have the absolute best every single day. And so there is a need for more people, more technologists, more entertainers, more actors, like there's so much that we can build for the quickly growing aging demographic that there's so much to do and there's so much need here. And there's so much really, again, when you think about the opportunity, you think about the connection, you think about who these people are, there's so much opportunity for impact. It's impossible not to feel fulfilled by working in this industry. And the one thing that we cannot ignore, we can talk about social isolation, but the one thing we cannot ignore is that we are all actively connected to the aging process. If it's not through someone else, every single second we are getting older. And as I think about even my own aging process, like I want to be excited when I turn 80. I want to feel like I'm connected to the world, and that's what we're actively building. And anybody who wants to build it with us, whether or not it's creating an experience or even a movie in VR that's designed for this group, like I'm eager to collaborate.
And give you social media links real quick.
So our website is rendever.com. We're all over the place. We're either at Rendever Health on Twitter, at rendever.health on Instagram, and then just Rendever on LinkedIn and Facebook.
All right, Tosh, go ahead. Tell them who you are.
Oh, yeah. Well, a quick little summary of me. So I'm from Miami. I'm a Latin pop singer-songwriter. And I can relate to what everybody was saying about, the arts and just, being happy with what you're doing and what you're putting out into the world is the best feeling when it doesn't feel like it's work, So currently I have 3 songs out. I started 2 years ago professionally, and it's been such a fun ride. It's been a fun ride. I've been enjoying my creative process and, kind of figuring out what I really want to sound like. And I am 100% sure that I have found the way I want to sound like, what I want people to hear my music. Usually I'm very, if you can compare my music to a little bit of Karol G style, a little bit of Shakira mix in there, J-Lo in there. And I'm honestly so excited. I did just finish filming my music video last week. So now it's an editing process. And I'm pumped because, there's new music coming, and just being part of that process, seeing all the clips and putting it together and kind of creating that story is what excites me the most about writing music. Is just being able to tell something that you have lived that many other people have probably lived by, but in a different way. And then, with different sounds, with your stamp approval of you on it. And so that's a little summary of me. And you can definitely follow me at Vocally Tosh. I invite you to hear my latest single, Que Pasó, and new music coming through.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and tell them who you are, since it's Oscar weekend also.
Yep, I'm a movie writer, but right now I have books about these guys, my docs. And if you go on Amazon, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can read about the books for free. A dozen delightful docs and tales, and one of them's about Charlie. And
oh my God, I have it. I have Amazon Prime. I'm reading it.
And there's another one called Long and Short Lists of Docs and Fun Facts. So anyway, yeah. And yep, I'll be writing about the movies on dreamweaverarts.com. It's a website that Brian and I are both associated with. And yep, there it is. So that's
all right, Cory. Erica's going to be last. So Cory, talk about your movie real quick, because everybody can't wait to see it now. I hope you're happy.
I want to. I just want to read the dog books now. It just sounds like such a fun thing to do tonight. So no, I mean, yeah, Without Ward is a really fun movie, but super weird. And fun's probably the wrong word. It's kind of heavy and happy and about connection. And I hope people want to see that right now. And I really hope you guys check it out. It's kind of tough, if I'm being honest, to be put on the spot with it. It's such an odd story that it would take me 10 minutes to it's this crazy world that gets broken down into a story being about a family in this world where I think Erica might appreciate it. Lawyers control everything. They're the Union of United Esquires. And it's one world government, and everybody has a contract. And if your contract doesn't specifically say you can do something, you can't. And the only penalty for breaking your contract is death. And somehow this isn't about any of that. It's just about a family. And literally a guy saving the world by reaching out to someone in a window across the street from him.
And it comes out this Friday on Apple.
Oh,
Amazon,
yeah, I forgot. The distributor will be mad. Yeah, Apple, Amazon, Vudu, Google, YouTube. I think
iTunes.
Yeah, places where you get movies.
Exactly. Miss Erica, Ms. Oscar, you get the last word of the night. And you're wearing my beautiful color green. I love that color green. So
I love
tell how people can follow you, what you have coming up, and what you're doing this weekend.
Oh, wow. Yes. So my movie, The Long Night, the horror film, is in the cinemas. I think if you guys ever feel like getting some chills, please do go and see it. I think it's also on Apple TV, and it's going to show up in a couple of more new platforms in 3 weeks. I think it's going to be on Hulu as well. There is one movie that I'm really excited for everyone to see. We're just waiting to hear if it has got accepted into Cannes Film Festival, The Reverend and Mrs. Simpson. I can't wait to share this with everyone, to be honest. And yeah, I'm on Erica Stas, Erica with a K. Please connect with me. I've heard so many amazing stories about you guys. I would love to definitely connect later on. And this Sunday, I'm going to be watching Oscars. That's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Oh my goodness, where? Yeah, so in the house where the shoot happened, French Riviera Entertainment. Is that what is? Yes, French Riviera Film Festival, and launch party.
And with that, I got to thank everybody for coming on. Erica, thank you for wearing that beautiful green. I love that color. Cory, thank you for being alive and still here. And I can't wait to see your film. Kyle, we'll be doing something in the future because that's not going away. It's all about VR. Michael, obviously, Carolina, Tosh, and even Roxy, and no nonstop this week. Yay. So I always say this, have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. And if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we'll see you next week.